Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Recording.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me today, always, Blake Harrison.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm all right. We're working remotely today, aren't we? You've got some work on. I've been pushed and pulled a few places today, so we've had to jump on so we can get this one done sharpish and out because everyone's still talking about what went down at the weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been a bit run down as well. I'm not going to lie. I've been a bit run down. I was worried about the voice. I did some voice work today, so I was feeling sorry for myself. I didn't want to travel into the studio is also part of the problem.
I've always said you've just got that sickly kid vibe about you. That kind of like a little spindly kind of Blake who's like, I feel very well.
Yeah, like Tiny Tim in like a Dickens.
Exactly.
In Christmas Carol. Yeah, I'm Tiny Tim. So, please, Mr. Scrooge, don't fire Daddy. I haven't eaten in 3 days.
Am I Scrooge then to your Tiny Tim?
Yeah, you're Scrooge and I'm Tiny Tim. That's what it is.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, before we do anything else, let's talk about our sponsor. Our sponsor is Fat Candy, and they make freeze-dried sweets. They make all your favourite childhood sweets, but they throw them in this big freeze-drying machine, and they sort of pop and explode into these kind of mad sort of textured sweets, which I can't recommend enough. And you've probably heard Blake and I talk at length about how delicious the Skittles are. But they also do like your cola cubes, wham bars, drumsticks, all like I said, all your childhood faves. So the best thing to do is grab a bag of the Pick-a-Mix, which is a kind of like a nice little introduction to everything they do. Work out which one you like the best. Go back to Fat Candy and then order a job lot of your faves. And while you're ordering, use the discount code SWEETMMA and it will save you some money. So that's proud sponsors of this show. And also, thanks, because I don't know if you see this, Blake, but we had a message from Fat Candy saying that discount code is getting used on the regular. So
nice.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for by supporting Fat Candy using that discount code. You're supporting us. So thank you very much. Yes. Okay, so we done a pre-fight show last week, Blake, talking all about Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev.
Oh, mate. I was absolutely gutted. Like, we were messaging on our group with Brian Lacey and Pip, and I was like, honestly, I don't think I've been so upset about a fight cancellation since Tony v. Khabib. Like, I remember exactly what I was doing. I was walking home from a train station, and I popped into the Sainsbury's. And I can't remember if I popped into Sainsbury's and then found out the news, or if I found out the news and then had to pop into Sainsbury's to get that pack of, they do like £1 and it's like 5 amazingly delicious cookies that they do. And I don't know if I was just drowning my sorrows in chocolate cookies because I found out about Tony Khabib. But that is the level of despair that I was feeling with this fight. It was Tony Khabib level despair that two guys that are the best in arguably, or maybe not even arguably, the best weight class in the sport are not fighting each other on a day's frigging notice or whatever it is. I was absolutely gutted. I was so upset.
It was really weird because like I sort of read your messages and I thought I better ring him and it was just a very weird moment. Obviously, your wife answered the phone. I could hear you howling in whatever room you was in. She was like, look, you better just leave him alone at the moment. He's really took this hard. And then the next thing I see was a picture of you out and about and you had a black armband on. Like, and I thought, wow, he's really took this hard. He's really showing his, he's the loss. He's took it badly.
Do you know what? I'm going to take this moment to say I think we should start up like a Kickstarter or a crowd kind of fundraiser for any other MMA fan that was feeling the kind of levels of despair that I was feeling over the weekend when you found out that Arman Tsarukyan got injured. So if people would like to message me, we can collaborate. We can start some kind of fund to just help ease the pain of everyone else that was left deflated and saddened by the weekend's events.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I think you
And a
started
sneeze.
crying again.
Yeah, no, I started crying again. Crying from my nose, and that cry is hefty amounts of snot at the moment. That's what's going on. So, yeah, as you've pointed out, Arman Tsarukyan, he's doing his weight cut, apparently, and injures his back. I don't know how, I don't know what went on, but apparently he has a back injury, 1 day's notice, and he's out the fight. And in steps Renato Moicano on a day's notice. How do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about the fight and get onto Arman later? Or do you want to go and delve into all the Arman stuff now? Because I do think we need to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, whatever's happened to him, let's wish him all the best with a recovery because, seeing the pictures of him leading up to it, he looked in incredible shape. And I think we was going to get a ridiculously high-level fight here. And I think we was going to see somebody that had a very good chance of maybe, beating Makhachev, which, seems to be a very difficult task for fighters, of late. I want to say, right, when it got announced, I was like, oh, shit, man. But when I heard that they put Moicano in there, I kind of just decided to myself, look, I've got to be positive here. And I just thought this is a potential Rocky moment, the underdog's getting the shot. And I just kept thinking,
you're a way more optimistic human being than I am.
I know. But all I was thinking was, would I swap this fight for a crazy win, a crazy unexpected win from Moicano for the post-fight speech? I think I would. I would. Because,
You're insane.
Look, we'll get on to the fight anyway, but which was pretty underwhelming, I think. Not for Islam Makhachev. But I think for fans, we was hoping for a very high-level, well-matched fight. And
I think as soon as I heard, Moicano stepping in, I knew what this fight was. I wasn't convinced that Islam was going to finish him that quickly and that easily, but I was confident Islam was going to finish him relatively early, just maybe second or third round. I didn't expect Moicano to do much to Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world at the moment, and even Dana White, and we should talk about that actually in a minute, has come out and said that Islam Makhachev is the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet at the moment. Renato Moicano, for all his fun little bits on the mic that he does and all that stuff, he's never beaten an Oliveira, a Gaethje, a Poirier, a Tsarukyan. And so question. I knew the way this fight was going to go.
Question then. Would it have been a better fight if they would have made that matchup against who Moicano was meant to be fighting, Beneil Dariush? Do you think that would have been a closer fight?
Maybe that would have been closer, because I think I was maybe leaning Beneil to beat Moicano. But I still don't think he would have given Makhachev a huge amount of issues. I think, as we've pointed out on this show before, the most toughest test for Islam Makhachev at that weight class is Arman Tsarukyan. And I'm now really terrified that we're never going to get that fight.
Because am I right in saying that Dana has said Arman's got to fight again before he gets the shot?
100%. And the UFC has a precedent with this kind of stuff. Like Charles Oliveira was supposed to fight Islam Makhachev in a rematch because Charles was injured. Volk stepped in. Charles has not fought for the belt since. So, these things happen. Fighters have to go away and prove they're the best. I believe that maybe even in the Khabib-Tony Ferguson situation when there was interim title fights and all that stuff, Khabib had to go and fight Edson Barbosa rather than going straight into a title shot again. So these things do happen. It sucks for Arman, but I do think he's dealt with it really well because he's basically put a tweet out there going, yeah, go on. What? Fair enough, Dana. Show me who you want me to beat and I'll beat them and I'll prove I'm the best in the world. And he's only like 27, 28, whatever he is, Arman Tsarukyan, maybe even younger. And Yeah, so I think time's on his side. He can do that. He is brilliant. And I think he will have to get one, if not two more wins before he fights for the belt, which is unfair. But that is unfortunately the way things go. Once you let down the UFC last minute, they do tend to seem... It looks from the outside in that they hold a bit of a grudge about it.
Punish you for it.
Yeah. Whereas the flip side is, you do a Volk or an Alex Pereira or now a Renato Moicano, you come in and go, yeah, I'll step in, I'll do it, I'll make championship weight on a day's notice and blah, blah, blah. Then they love you for it and you get extra perks because of it. So I don't know what Arman's next fight would be, and that's a question I wanted to ask. So we'll get on to the Islam versus Renato Moicano fight in a minute. But Arman Tsarukyan, where does he go from here? We had an announcement of Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker is the co-main event of 313, and the best thing about that is 5 rounds. Yes, please. Cannot wait for that. The winner of that fight is possibly in line for a title shot, especially if it's Gaethje, because that would be a fresh matchup for Makhachev. Paddy's been talking about see you at the top, so is he fighting Chandler? But then Chandler seemed to put a tweet out there having a go at Tsarukyan, so maybe he wants Tsarukyan fight. So I don't know what's going on with Paddy and Chandler. Benil Dariush, Arman Tsarukyan beat him recently. Mateusz Gamrot is out there. I don't know that he has a fight booked. I should look that up. But Gamrot has a win over Tsarukyan, but it was one of those wins where, as far as I was concerned, Tsarukyan won that fight. It was not a win for Gamrot. So, so I don't know what happened there. But let me try and find... Gamrot's coming off the loss to Dan Hooker. So you could make that fight and say to Tsarukyan, try and avenge this loss, see what happens. Rafael Fiziev, is he still injured? And he's coming off technically 2 losses. So, none of them are great fights for Arman Tsarukyan. It's all people coming off losses or people he's already beat, and it's not great for Arman at the moment in terms of getting a fight that makes you go, yes, that's it. Now give him the title shot. But I think hopefully with just one win over anyone in that top 7 or 8 should make people go, yeah, come on, give him the title shot. But it's just whether the UFC wants to hold a big grudge or not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting division, and like you say, most people are tied up. And how far back down them rankings does Arman want to fight? Because when you
Max Holloway,
well, that's the only one that you didn't mention. He's ranked 5th.
He's coming off a loss, but he's coming off a loss at featherweight. Maybe Max Holloway's a great fight for him, because if Max wins, you can throw him straight into a title shot. If Arman beats Max, that's a huge name. And maybe Max versus Arman Tsarukyan is a very good fight.
If they're going to punish Tsarukyan and make him fight someone else before, do you think like Max is a meal ticket, isn't it? Max is a big money fight, and it's like, is Arman Tsarukyan a big enough name for Max Holloway? Max is going to be picking his fights, I'm imagining, at this point in his career.
Well, I'll tell you what, Arman's the number 1 contender. He's got the number 1 next to his name. So if you're Max Holloway, it's like you're coming off a loss and you fight the number 1 guy in the division that you're now in. Yeah. Take that fight.
Yeah. Okay. Well, should we talk about the fight itself? Because
let's do it.
There's not a lot to talk about really, is there? Because it was done and dusted.
Credit to both guys. Both guys took this fight on a day's notice. Yes, both of them were in camp. Renato Moicano, for a 3-round fight, he took 5 rounds against the best in the world. Came up short. I love the way he lost as well, in terms of on the mic, he wasn't moaning about anything. And they said, you took it on a day's notice. And it almost was heartbreaking. He was like, no, this wasn't a day's notice. This was a lifetime's notice. And I just wasn't good enough. Yeah. And it breaks your heart. But I kind of think, I like that sort of level of honesty and stuff like that. Because, it was a day's notice, but he was in camp and all these things. And I don't know, I liked the way he spoke about the loss.
Yeah,
and I did find it slightly heartbreaking, the fact that it was it's a lifetime's notice and I just wasn't good enough. And let's be honest, I don't think he ever will be, but not to be champion. But there you go. It was just vintage Makhachev, wasn't it? It was just, got that Darce choke, locked it in. I think it was the same way he beat Poirier. Obviously, very different fights, but same way he beat Poirier. The guy is just a force to be reckoned with. He's a great striker. He's defensively sound. He's a phenomenal wrestler. He can submit you. He's a special, special fighter. And I don't really know what else to say. He's just so good. You know. In the top division in the sport as well. This isn't like... People know that I have my issues with John Jones and all that stuff. John Jones, phenomenal fighter. Phenomenal fighter. Light heavyweight is not lightweight. Heavyweight is not lightweight. That kind of area of bantamweight up to welterweight is the most skillful divisions in the sport, in my opinion. And lightweight is probably the one that sticks out above all of them as the top division in the sport. And he's the best of the best of the best division. And it doesn't look like, at the moment, anyone's near touching him.
Yeah, you pretty much summed it all up there. I don't know what's going to be next for Islam. I mean, I'm sure he's going to want to look at maybe moving about in divisions, but I don't know. I don't think there's huge amounts left for him in the division he's in. You know, he's pretty much cleared it out. I don't really know. Do you think he's going to want to go up?
I think he wants to go up, but I don't think he can go up whilst Bilal's champion because they're friends. So if Shavkat wins against Bilal, whenever that fight's booked for, yes, he could go up. He didn't mention going up in the cage. I'm not sure if he did in the post-fight presser.
I don't believe so.
In the cage, he just said, this is my belt. I like it. Come get it if you want it. I mean, there's the rematch with Oliveira. Could happen. Tsarukyan's the fight I really want to see, but I understand that the way the UFC operates is he's going to have to at least get one win before we see that fight. Yeah, man. Gaethje, sure, if he beats Hooker, but I don't think Gaethje's got much for Makhachev. I just don't think anyone does, other than maybe Tsarukyan. And even then, I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
So it is a tough one, but maybe Makhachev should just do the thing of going, just give me next guy up, make it, especially if Gaethje wins. If Hooker wins, he's already lost to Makhachev in like 30 seconds or whatever it was where he got Kimura'd. So I don't want to see Hooker fight Islam Makhachev. Gaethje, I mean, I'd watch it, but I do think Islam's going to have more for him than Gaethje can handle, particularly on the ground. So yeah, I don't know, man. Other than Arman, there's not much I really want to see there.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's have a brief chat about the fact that this was Islam's 4th title defense. Mm-hmm. So he is now the most successful lightweight champion of all time. He surpasses BJ Penn. He surpasses Khabib Nurmagomedov. Just comparing Islam and Khabib's resume here. Who do you think has the best resume, bearing in mind where fighters were at when they were beat by them? So let me just lay it out for you. Islam beat Volk twice. One of those, Volk was coming off 12 days' notice.
Yep.
And he was clearly sat on the sofa, and he talked a little bit about having some slight mental health things going on, which led him to take that fight.
His body was not how his body normally is. It was visible to see when he got in there.
And the fights were incredibly different. The first fight was incredibly competitive. Makhachev won it. Some people believe Volk won it. I believe Makhachev definitely won that fight, but it was very competitive.
Yeah.
Second fight, Volk on 12 days' notice. I don't put a huge amount of stock in that.
Yeah.
Then you've got Dustin Poirier, who put on a really great performance, still got beat, but put on a great performance. Is definitely at the tail end of his career. Mm-hmm. And you've got an Moicano coming in on 1 day's notice. There's no way he's getting a title shot if there's not a situation like this.
Okay.
So that's your 4 fights. A really great Volkanovski who troubled him. A Poirier at the tail end of his career, but again, a really good Poirier. Poirier's a great fighter. A Volk coming off of 12 days notice. Didn't look to shell of himself. And Moicano on 1 day's notice, a guy that, let's be honest, never really would have got to a title shot without 2 or 3 more wins, which who knows if he would have done that at the top end of the division. So that's Islam Makhachev. And you got Khabib. You got Conor, who I don't know where Conor's head was at for that fight. He looked drunk in press conferences and all those things. I don't know if he was or he wasn't, but that's what it looked like to me. Was Conor the same Conor? Maybe not. Is he a worse Conor now than what he was in the Khabib fight? I should think so, yeah, probably. But it still wasn't the Conor that beat Eddie Alvarez. Dustin Poirier that was much younger. You probably put more weight in Khabib's win over Dustin than Islam's win over Dustin.
I think it's that middle ground, that time between both them fights where Poirier really matured into like a fantastic fighter. I think there's maybe either side of those fights that's sort of floating around in the middle. Do you know what I mean? I think but yeah.
And the other one is a Justin Gaethje who, was great.
Yeah.
But maybe has improved since. Maybe Justin Gaethje now is a better fighter because he's a bit more reserved and all those things. I don't know. So it's tricky. Khabib's got 3 wins. Islam's got 4 wins. But you've got Conor, Dustin, Gaethje, all probably in their physical primes, whether they're in their mental primes, particularly for Conor, don't know, but physical primes. Or you've got Volk that was the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet, and then a Volk on 12 days' notice, and Dustin and Moicano. Very difficult to put those on the scale and see who comes out on top, isn't it?
If I had to pick who I rate more, I will go with Islam because I think he's a far better striker than Khabib.
I agree with you, but in terms of resume... But I think Islam is an all-round better fighter than Khabib because his striking is way better. I agree with you. But in terms of, if you just balance out those resumes on the scale, which one weighs more? 4 wins versus 3 wins? 3 wins over guys that are maybe in their physical prime.
Sure.
The other 4 was a couple of short notice fights. Like, I don't know. What's the more impressive
we're
series of title defenses?
We're talking about an open-ended story at the moment because Islam's not retired.
Yeah.
Khabib beat them people and went, I know there was a bit of a narrative with, what his dad's requests and stuff like that, and walked away, or his mother's request, and walked away from the sport, probably in his prime. And we never got to see the rest. I think that was that was disappointing. So I think the fact that the story continues with Islam, I'm leaning towards him.
Okay. I think Khabib's got the better resume at the moment, despite the fact that it's 1 win less.
Okay.
I don't know. I do think Islam overall will have the better resume. I think Islam with 1 or 2 more wins is the GOAT at lightweight, no questions asked.
Yeah.
But at the moment, despite being the lead in title defenses, I still think there's a strong argument that Khabib's wins equate to more than Islam's wins.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that either. I get it.
But I do think this is a very temporary discussion. Because 1 or 2 more wins at lightweight and all questions are out the window.
Completely.
Islam is the greatest lightweight of all time, hands down, no questions asked. One other thing I wanted to bring up is Dana White in the post-fight press conference. Someone asks him about, is Islam the pound-for-pound number 1 fighter in the world at the moment? And Dana White has finally caved after 18 months or whatever it's been of people asking this question. And he's like, are you kidding? John Jones, if you lock John Jones in a room, he's the only one that walks out, all that stuff. He's finally said, no, Islam is the pound-for-pound best guy on the planet. What is your thoughts when you hear Dana White say that?
I couldn't give a shit because I think if anyone's going to bang on about John Jones being the GOAT, I'm talking specifically about Dana banging on about John Jones being the GOAT, but not making him fight. I have no interest in it. The greatest of all time doesn't swerve fights, doesn't sit out for ages and pick his fights the way that John Jones has been. And I think, and the fact that, he's acknowledged what Islam's done, which is remarkable and it should be acknowledged. And he is the pound-for-pound king at the moment, undeniably so, and has been probably for a while. And I think, there's fighters like Volk when he was on a tear that when John Jones was inactive, that was probably the pound-for-pound champ. And the only thing I like about it is that maybe he's just acknowledged that John Jones he's just doing everyone's fucking heads in by not just fighting anyone or just giving up the belt.
So, I mean, I maybe this is my conspiracy theorist brain.
Tell me, I'm
I'm
intrigued there.
Deeper on this. As soon as he because the evidence for me has been John Jones beat Cyril Gane.
Yeah.
Then has sat out, and I know some of it was injury. We're not obviously some of it was couldn't be helped. It was injury, but during the time between John Jones beating just Cyril Gane, and before that he was out for about 3 years, and then coming back after 2 years or whatever it was, and beating Stipe, who had been out for 4 years and is basically just a firefighter now, and all these things. Hadn't had a win against anyone currently in the UFC, let alone ranked or anything like that. The fact that Dana White was consistently like, no, he's the best. He's the best. Lock him in a room with someone. He's the best. He's the best. Pound for pound, blah, blah, blah. Now that he's finally gone, oh, no, I guess, yeah, Islam's the pound for pound best in the world. My immediate thoughts are, oh, negotiations for John Jones aren't going well. Because a few weeks ago, you guaranteed John Jones versus Tom Aspinall will happen this year. And now he's not the best pound for pound fighter on the planet. And that makes me think, oh, negotiations aren't going well.
Oh, you think they're not best friends now?
They're not best friends at the moment, yeah. I think John Jones is playing hardball, or he's just saying, no, I'll fight Alex Pereira. I don't want to fight Tom.
Well, I hope Dana goes, listen, fucking do as you're told. Fight Tom Aspinall.
You can't make someone fight. John Jones might just go, I've got loads of money. I don't need to fight.
Fine, but we're taking that belt off of you.
That's such a bad look for the UFC to strip him this early after a title defense, though.
I mean, the UFC can do what they want, and May will frame it.
They can do what they want.
They will frame it and go, he refused to fight. And so, what do? We can't deny Tom Aspinall, I don't know. Yeah, I get it. I mean, there's so it is easy to read, into the slightest little things that Dana White says, and you saying that out loud does make me think the fact that he's no longer blowing smoke up John Jones's arse and he's gone, no, you're not the best. This guy's the best. Does make me think that was a dig against John Jones, and the only way I imagine he's wanting to dig him is because said no, negotiations are not going the UFC's way.
Yeah, that's what I took from it. Maybe I've got a bit of a overactive imagination.
No. Do you know what?
That is what I took from it.
It's feasible, mate. Feasible.
So, yeah. Shall we move on to Umar versus Merab Dvalishvili?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best night for the Nurmagomedovs. They had a fantastic movie, Islam, but let's talk about, before we do anything, let's talk about how good Merab is.
Yeah.
Because I thought don't get me wrong, I'll tell you what, before we break this down, how did you score it round-wise?
Okay.
Oh, so this fuck's sake.
All right, so now I've had to rewatch rounds of this fight. I don't know if it's me being slightly unwell or what it is, but my initial scoring of the fight, if I'd have stuck to that initial scoring, we'd be having some very interesting conversations right now. Go on. I almost wanted to play it out just pretending. But I've rewatched particularly round 4 3 times because my initial watching of that fight, and even on a second watch of it, for me, I think round 1 and 2 are obviously Umar's rounds. Round 3 is Merab. Round 5 is Merab. And for me, round 4, for some reason, when I was initially watching it, was incredibly close, and I scored it for Umar originally.
I thought it was close. That was the round that Merab come off the gas a little bit, wasn't it?
No, I don't know if 5 is where he came off the gas a little. Do you know what? I can't remember. Maybe it was. But all I remember thinking was, what I feel, and I still feel that there's a part of truth in this. I just, having rewatched it enough times, I go, oh no, actually, I think 4 probably was Merab's round. Yeah. So the scorecards are fine. But I thought we were going to have some interesting fucking conversations on this. But I had to go back and watch it a few times because I was like, no one else is seeing what I'm seeing. Am I insane? Yeah. And it turns out, yes, I am. But when I first watched it, for me, I felt like the commentators and the fans at home watching it, and maybe the judges, were getting so pulled in by Merab showboating and by Umar's body language.
Yeah.
Because Umar's body language did look fucking tired.
Yeah.
And Merab looked like he could run a marathon. Like, there's no doubt about that. But when you look at them coming together and actually exchanging blows and the damage done...
Umar was on top for that, 100%.
On round 4, at first, I was like, I think Umar's doing more damage. He looks tired. And his body language isn't great. But when they're actually doing something, like throwing someone to the ground in the manner that Merab did, because he didn't pick him up and slam him and have an impactful slam. He was doing trips. He was pulling him down. He grabbed his legs and just kind of slung him down. That's not point scoring. That's a change of position. So when he slung him down at one point and pointed at him, did the old Diaz point, I was like, mate, why didn't you get on top of him and try and hit him? Because by doing that, you haven't scored any points. All you've done is go, there you go. Pushed you over, didn't I? Like someone in a playground.
I think
and for me, I was worried.
I think he was breaking his soul a bit there. I think he was just trying to humiliate him a bit and just go like, look, have this. Yeah, I'm making this look easy now.
There was a few moments there where I was like, Merab, I think you're throwing this away, mate. Because you are showboating to the crowd, but you're not doing any damage.
Yeah.
You're wrestling, you're having your way with him a little bit, but you're not doing any damage. And when you come together, he's hitting strikes on you just as much as you're hitting strikes on him, if not maybe slightly more. Again, having re-watched the fight a couple of times and round 4 3 times, for whatever reason, my tired brain or whatever didn't quite compute what was going on well enough. And I think actually Merab won rounds 3, 4 and 5. Rounds 3 and rounds 4 were not by any stretch a blowout for Merab. And I feel like people have come away from this fight being like, oh, Merab absolutely schooled him.
No, I'm not saying that.
And it's like, no, that was a close fucking fight.
I thought he won that third comfortably.
Yeah, I did think he won the third round. I think it was 4 was the one where I was the most like, hang on a minute. I don't know if you've even won this and you're showboating like you've won it.
Yeah.
And then in round 5, I don't know if he clips Umar towards the end of the round that made me go, oh yeah, you've rattled him a bit there. That you've definitely won this round. But it was not like some kind of blowout performance. And Umar runs rounds 1 and 2. And the most damage done in the entire fight was by Umar. Basically, I would like to see that fight again. Not straight away. I don't think Umar deserves like an immediate rematch. There's no controversy. But I definitely think it was a very close fight. Excuse me.
I thought it was
the cold coming back.
I thought it was a great fight. I really enjoyed it. And I did think, right, Merab's really got to up his game. And I don't know if his game plan was, do what you got to do. And then in them latter rounds, your gas tank's going to be too good. And it is ridiculous, like the cardio that lad's got. And Umar did look tired. And I know that's all Rogan seemed to be banging on about. And I remember they did flash up the significant strikes at one point, and that definitely lent to what I think was it round 4, might have been the one where Merab run away with the significant strikes. It was. I'm sure it was round 4. Might have been 3. I don't know. But I thought Merab looked comfortable, and I thought Umar looked like he was running out of ideas and running out of gas in the latter rounds. And I think in that last round, I think Umar was a little bit robbed of his soul. I think he was like, I think he could feel the fight was running away from him a little bit. And the fact that Merab was showboating, I think was just frying his brain even more. And would I want to see the fight again? Yeah, 100%. I thought it was a really, really fun fight, really interesting fight. And yeah, I didn't. What did you make of the I broke my hand chat at the end?
Well, it looks like it's obviously true. We've seen the video of it. He broke his hand. He reckons in the first round. That is going to have an impact on things. But also, Merab was talking about all these injections or something he had in his back or something like that, or he messed his back and he had a huge staph infection on his shin. So it's just one of those things where it's like, the other reason I'd like to see this fight again is that neither guy was 100%. So you can't take away from Merab. Merab was not 100%. Umar was not 100%. Things happen in the cage. That's just it. So Merab wins this fair and square. He won that fight. So it would have been nicer for Umar to give Merab a little bit of credit. However, it is difficult for him. And he's a young man, all that stuff. Like, he didn't say anything horrible, but the fact is he did mess his hand up. And he says he needs to go back and rewatch the fight. What I think is interesting now is one thing we didn't talk about on the preview show, I don't think we talked about this, is by a country mile for me, Umar is the toughest fight in that division for Merab. So now that Merab has got past Umar, who can stop him? Like, what's next? You've got, he's already smashed Petr Yan 50-45, absolutely dominated Henry Cejudo, beat Sean O'Malley. Sandhagen needs a win. Song Yadong is fighting Henry Cejudo. Obviously, he needs a win to get in there. But I don't see anyone really troubling. I mean, obviously, I love Corey Sandhagen. Everyone, fans of this show know I'm a big fan of Corey Sandhagen. So I'd love to see him get a title shot at some point. And maybe with his all-round brilliant game and his ranginess and all that stuff, he could cause Merab a lot of problems. But when you just look at that style, that ridiculous pace he sets, the cardio, the fact that he comes out for rounds 4 and 5 looking like he could go another 5 rounds, it's just relentless. He just, as you said with Umar, he breaks your soul because he just doesn't stop. And I don't know who's going to beat him. For me, I think there's certainly an argument here now that Merab Dvalishvili could walk away from this sport as the greatest bantamweight of all time in terms of title defenses. Because I think Sterling had 3. I don't think Dominic Cruz had more than that, if he even got to that. I don't know, not including WEC, because obviously Cruz was unfortunate with all the injuries he had, and he had the title taken away from him.
And he's fighting Rob Font, right?
I'm not sure, is he?
Yeah.
Maybe he is. I'm not sure. But, like, who is there that, like, when you, let's pull up the rankings quickly and see. Oh, I've got Dominic Cruz up here now. Yes, he's fighting Rob Font soon.
Yeah, you got Cheeto in there as well at 6.
Yeah, but he's going to do nothing, is he, to Merab? Merab's going to wrestle the hell out of him.
And obviously you got Figgy at 5.
He's coming off a loss as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, like, I reckon they're going to make the Sean O'Malley rematch. I think that's the fight they're going to make next because it's big money. It's a name. Merab wants it. He was calling for it. Sean wants it. He's got the narrative that he actually won the fight and all this stuff. So there's marketing to be done there. You know they'll sell the fight. And it's big names and it's big money and both guys are in. So I think they'll do the Sugar Sean fight next, the rematch with Merab. Is it fair? Not necessarily. Sean probably should go and get a win, but I think that's what they're going to do.
Who's Sean got to go and get a win against? Because who are they going to line him up with? Corey Sandhagen? That's a bad matchup.
You could have a rematch with Yan, because that was a very close fight, very controversial in a lot of people's eyes, the win for O'Malley in that one.
I think O'Malley's got tickets on himself to the fact where he just thinks, no, if I fight again, I'm fighting for the belt. Like, I think he's got that level of confidence and maybe delusion. I think the UFC.
But I don't know if it is delusional. I think the UFC are like,
of course, because he's a superstar, and they want the money man at the top. Merab's obviously, he's marketed himself really well over these last few fights and has become a fan favorite. They were cheering him, as soon as he walked into the arena, and I think he's really carried himself well outside the octagon. Everyone seems to, anything you ever hear from other people, he's like, what a top lad he is. His social media is really funny at times as well. And I think.
But let's just run down the top 10 of bantamweight. Like, starting at 10, Mario Bautista. He looked good at points of late, strong wrestler. Maybe there's something there, but he needs to get a few more wins first. At the moment, I'm not looking at him going, he's causing Merab any problems. But maybe in a year or two's time, who knows? Rob Font, no, he'll get wrestled. Song Yadong, huge power in his hands, got to get past Henry Cejudo, which would be a great test, interesting, but I don't see him causing a problem for Merab. Henry Cejudo, Merab dealt with him easily. Marlon Vera, no, he gets wrestled. Davison Figueiredo, no, I don't think he keeps up for 5 rounds. Corey Sandhagen, maybe. My heart wants it, but probably not, given the pace and the wrestling of Merab. Petr Yan, we saw that, 50-45. Umar Nurmagomedov, in the future, 2 years' time, maybe, 18 months, maybe they do a rematch. And Umar, I think, could beat him, but he needs to fill some holes or improve that cardio or something. And Sean O'Malley, do we think Sean's going to beat Merab? Could have that one punch, but the likelihood is no. So who beats Merab?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, does Pantoja look at coming up?
I think that could be a great fight because the flyweight division lacks contenders and Merab has beaten a lot of the bantamweights already. So I think Pantoja coming up and doing champ is actually a really good move for the UFC, for Pantoja, for Merab. I think for everyone, that's a great move. But size matters, and I think Pantoja gets crushed by Merab. So yeah, again, there's money to be made because you've got O'Malley and you've got maybe Yan, a Sandhagen, an Umar rematch down the line, which I think is the most difficult. Pantoja coming up in weight. But, there could be a fight with Dom Cruz if Dom got 2 wins and everyone was like, well, Merab's beaten everyone else. Let's give it to Dom Cruz, big name, blah, blah, blah.
Make Dominic Cruz fight Jose fucking Aldo. Why don't they do that?
I don't know, man. The matchmaking of that is weird. They should definitely be doing those two fighting each other. You should not be doing Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. That was crazy matchmaking. But whatever. But yeah, so I don't know what to say in terms of like who can beat Merab now. I just don't know where it's at. And we should have maybe picked up on this in the preview show that if Merab got past Umar, which he's now done, it is really like clear seas ahead to just sail on through to become potentially the greatest bantamweight of all time. Who knows? But
as you say, like a fight with Sugar, the hype around it would be huge. And you can't, I know it's ridiculous because we've said it for Conor with his left hand and, he's only got to land that one shot. But it's not easy to land that one shot when somebody's moving the way he moves relentlessly and a lot of the time pushing you back. Like Umar was struggling because Merab was just coming forwards, and he was on that back foot constantly and he just couldn't seem to fight the way he wanted to fight. He was fighting Merab's fight. And I think that front pressure and that relentless cardio is hard for people to deal with. And, I think, I doubted Merab in this fight, but we were talking before Christmas, I thought, Umar's got this tied up. And the closer I got and the more confident that I see Merab was, because he looked really rattled last year, when they're having any kind of sort of media stuff around this. But wherever he got his head, it was really impressive. And I think, I've never really thought of it like that. There's no one there whose fight style looks like it's potentially going to threaten what Merab's got.
And also, as you've just pointed out, the mental fortitude of Merab. He was 2 rounds down. Like, he was 2 rounds down. There was nothing that necessarily said, you're going to win this fight now. Because Umar, on paper, should be able to deal with the wrestling, do all that stuff. We didn't take into account the crazy levels of cardio.
Bless you, mate.
Excuse me. I am full of a cold. But yeah, so I do think Umar's going to be champ eventually. Yeah. I don't know if he wins it from Merab in a rematch, which is a rematch I'd love to see in like a year and a half, 2 years' time, something like that. The main thing I want from all my champions, really, but particularly from someone like Merab, is activity. He's defended the belt in January. Get at least 2 more title defenses in this year. And that can make you a star. Like, I do believe one of the biggest factors from being a star nowadays is, yes, have a little bit of quirkiness and whatever on the mic, but activity is huge. Yeah. If people see you win fights 3, 4, 5 times a year, or if you're a champ, probably just the 3, that does loads. People want to see you win. And that's the big thing. And staying out doesn't help you, I don't think. So, yeah.
Mate, can we please just talk about Yuri versus Jamal Hill, please?
Oh, mate, that didn't even win fight of the night.
What?
Umar versus Merab won fight of the night in the bonuses.
No way.
That's insane, isn't it?
It was. Every second of that fight was like, oh, fuck, fucking hell. No. It was madness. And it was absolutely thrilling. And it was everything that your casual fan will just be going, this is why I'm going to get into this sport. Because it was batshit. I
just want a rematch, like, now.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take it now. I just like, because it was such a fun fight. I'm not saying that it needs a rematch for any kind of sporting reason. It needs a rematch because this was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd watch it again. That's how much I enjoyed this so much. Everything about it felt big.
Yeah.
Like the way they were staring each other down. I know Yuri did that with Alex Pereira before their fight, that like 8-minute long stare down or whatever the hell it was. But they had the stare down moment. Hill looked locked in. Prochazka had his little kind of Tai Chi moves at the start and all that kind of stuff. Hill was being booed by his American, fans, counterparts, whatever. They were cheering for the European fighter. Mate, and just round one, Yuri drops him, but Hill lands a few good strikes. Round two, I gave that to Hill. Thought he landed some really good strikes to the body. Looked like he hurt Yuri a couple of times with that. And then round three, counter strike Yuri out the way of a punch, and then boom, boom. Hill is down, ground and pound. See you later. It was special to watch. I loved that fight.
Chins on them fellas are ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
Like, they both just... And I know that the commentators were saying, like, Yuri's keeping his hands up a bit more than usual. He still had them round his waist for a large amount of that fight. And I was like, mate, Jamal Hill is a sniper of a boxer as well. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, what are you doing? But it just added more thrill to the fight. It was like, oh my God, his head movement was better, Yuri's. There was lots more head movement for sure.
Yeah.
But, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I loved the whole thing. Pre-fight shaving his head for the woman that he met that was going through chemotherapy. I thought that was fantastic, lovely thing to do, and it was interesting. Like, Jamal Hill is not a fan favorite, and I don't really know why. He's always in good fights. I think he's got a character, but I don't think it's.
I think this is outside the cage, and I think he said a lot of things that have wound people up or made him look kind of like he's a bit of a sore loser, and then going after Pereira at the PI. And Pereira's such a darling of the MMA world at the moment. Like, everyone loves Alex Pereira. So you can't come at him and then come across as the good guy. You're going to be the bad guy.
But I think he's trying to do that and try and create a persona and market himself. And I don't know if he's just getting it wrong. But also, if you're getting in there with... You're about to fight someone that looks like they've literally just walked off of a computer game. Like, he looks too exciting, Yuri. He's too... Everything about him, people don't get, and they're fascinated by him. And it's... Whether some of it is that, that samurai mentality, how much of that is bollocks, I don't know. But I don't care. I'm on board. I like watching it. It makes me laugh. I like his fight style. He's not afraid to get hit as well. And Jamal Hill, I thought he looked decent. I thought his striking was really good, really accurate. And
I think he did well in parts of the fight. He won round two. He came back from adversity. As you said, he got knocked down, got back up, won round two. And then just round three was just something else. It really was. It was, he took a beating and then came back. And again, for him not to get the performance bonus on that as well as fight of the night, like that is a bit of a kick in the teeth.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I think Dana did give Match's 50 G's, didn't he, to the woman that was suffering with chemotherapy. I know that he gave, like, Yuri gave 50,000 to her, and Dana matched it. So I don't.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know if that was the 50 G's went there. I don't know. So okay,
that's great. That's lovely to hear.
Where does this leave the light heavyweight division?
It was, I didn't find out until I saw it just on an Instagram post, because I was obviously fast forwarding Sunday morning through the stuff about UFC 313. Because I originally was like, where does Yuri go from here? Does he fight the winner of Olberg versus Blachowicz? Does he fight Khalil Roundtree? Like, that would be a great... I'll tell you what, in terms of just a spectacle for the fans, give me Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree. That is a fantastic, fantastic fight. However, now that we've got Magomed Ankalaev fighting Alex Pereira in March, if you're Yuri, just sit out.
Oh, 100%.
Wait. Just wait. Don't sign up to anything. Don't worry about anything. See where the land lies come March 10th. Because on March 9th, when Ankalaev fights Pereira, either I will probably be picking Ankalaev to win, which means he probably won't. So either Ankalaev wins, and after a performance like that from Prochazka, and the fact that he's such a fan favourite, I think Prochazka goes straight into a title shot. That's me. I think Prochazka is the first title defence of Magomed Ankalaev if Ankalaev beats Pereira. Unless they go straight into a rematch with Pereira, which he might do. But I wonder if Pereira will just go, fuck it, I'll go up to heavyweight. Let's see what's going on up there. So I think either that happens, or if Pereira beats Ankalaev, there is a strong possibility again that Pereira goes, I've messed up everyone in this division. I don't need to do much more. Let me go up to heavyweight. I'm happy to vacate or do an interim title shot. And again, I think Yuri Prochazka might be the first name down on that sheet. And it's, do you do an interim title shot between Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree? Do you do an interim title shot between Yuri Prochazka and the winner of Carlos Ulberg versus Jan Blachowicz?
If Carlos Ulberg wins, he's rocketing straight up to fourth in the rankings. And I think, yeah, he's in the mix of it there. Like, you know.
He is, but it's, I still don't think he's got like that marquee moment. And a win over Blachowicz might be, but it also might be like, Blachowicz isn't the same as he used to be. Like, Yuri is Yuri. He's just beat Jamal Hill and he smokes everyone not named Alex Pereira. And he's fun and people love him. The other guy that's got a lot of kind of like adoration from fans at the moment is Khalil Roundtree.
No.
Not that he's got the win, but how can you say no? People are loving Khalil Roundtree at the moment. That performance against Pereira was massive.
I'm not saying no to that. I'm not saying, like, of course, everybody thought he was an absolute hero in that fight. The punishment he took, and he obviously kept coming forwards. But
he dished some out as well. That's the Pereira looked in more trouble against Khalil Roundtree than he has against anyone.
But if
other at light heavyweight.
So what I'm saying no to is the fact that Yuri Prochazka is currently ranked 2. And like Khalil Roundtree's 7. And like, I don't think Yuri's going to look backwards at the moment and go, I'm going to go down and fight the number 7 ranked guy. I think he's going to...
No, but if an interim belt's on the line, it doesn't matter.
I don't think they're going to put Khalil Roundtree up for that belt. I think
I think they could.
I think I'll lean on what you first said, which is I think the winner of Blachowicz and Ulberg, he's well in the mix for that.
Yeah. I think Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka is a much more interesting and exciting fight than Yuri Prochazka versus Ulberg or Blachowicz.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But let's remember that Khalil Roundtree,
and
he got a lucky shot to get that fight. You know, everyone was scratching their heads.
He performed so well.
Yeah.
Just think off the back. I'm just trying to think. If you're the UFC and you're going, right, how can we sell the most pay-per-views? Yuri Prochazka, dead on, nailed on. Alex Pereira has vacated the belt. He's gone. He's going up to heavyweight. Ankalaev's just lost him. We don't like him anyway, so let's get rid of him. We've got Yuri Prochazka going in there, and we've got the choice. Either Blachowicz, Ulberg, or Khalil Roundtree. I think Khalil Roundtree is...
Make Jamal Hill fight him again.
No, I don't think they'll do that for an interview. Not in like 5-6 months' time. I think if you had that, if in July or August they're going, we got to do an interim title fight because Pereira's going off or he's vacated or whatever it is. You've got Yuri Prochazka, and I think they do Khalil Roundtree.
Okay.
I might be wrong. That's what I think they do. And I tell you what, I would love it.
You know, you're going to get fantastic stand-up with Khalil Roundtree, you know that. And but also, like, I just want that guy to have a couple of years to just chill it out because it was just a beating that was quite savage in the end. But yeah, okay. Well, look, I don't know what other fights we're going to talk about on the card. I take it you want to mention Spivak versus Jayton Almeida, because you were saying
it was a mad round.
Yeah, because you was trying to explain the other week that Jayton is in the running to fight Tom Aspinall, wasn't you?
He probably will be. That's what I'm saying. What else have you got? Again, John Jones says, "No, I want to fight Pereira."
Yeah.
Or John Jones, now that he's not the pound for pound champ in Dana's eyes or whatever, he's not playing ball.
Yeah.
Cyril Gane is next up, and no one's overly excited about that.
Yeah.
Let's say Cyril Gane is injured. It was all like, a lot of it is what ifs.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Jailton Almeida called out Cyril Gane. Brilliant call out.
Yeah, that was a smart move, that was.
Smart move, because there's no huge amount of enthusiasm for Gane versus Aspinall at the moment. Aspinall's going to be sitting out for a while going, I really want the Jones fight. Can we make this happen? If you, Jailton Almeida, can go, let me sneak in there, get a fight with Cyril Gane in the summer before all this John Jones stuff is wrapped up, you're it. Before the end of the year, you're fighting Tom Aspinall for the belt, probably. Again, unless the Jones stuff happens. I think that's a great call out from Almeida. And it was a fun fight. Like, he didn't look like a world beater. He looked like he had a bit of trouble with Spivak in there. You know, Spivak got him down. He reversed position, did it again, reversed position again. And then, all of a sudden, showed that he had a bit of hands on him, which he's not really shown before. And he really rocked Spivak and got him down. Flattened him out, beat him up.
So let's say that Pavlovich, he's fighting Volkov, right?
No, Volkov beat Pavlovich already.
Sorry, who's Pavlovich up against next?
I don't know. I don't think Pavlovich has got much of a say to do with anything going forward for a little bit because of that loss to Volkov, to be honest. So
you don't think that you think Almeida can literally overstep your Pavloviches and your Blades?
Pavlovich is on a 2-fight losing streak, yeah. And I don't think that the UFC are huge Curtis Blades fans.
It doesn't feel like that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Curtis Blades is fighting Rizvan Kuniev. I don't know who that is.
It's not even ranked.
Is he not ranked?
No.
That goes to show you what the UFC think of Curtis Blades.
Wow.
This guy, Rizvan Kuniev, is probably some kind of beast from outside of the organisation.
I was just thinking, is this...
He's come through the Contender Series. And before that, I think, did he beat Hernan Ferreira? But it's been turned to a no contest because he popped for all sorts of drugs. So there's that. And before that, he was in like Eagle FC and different things. So this guy has won, I think, 2 Contender Series fights, popped for shed loads of drugs. My understanding is, I might be wrong in saying that. Let's say allegedly. Maybe I should find out why this has been overturned to a no contest before I start slandering the good name of this young man.
But still, whatever. I mean, that's a rough deal for Curtis Blades.
Yeah. Oh, mate. So, here we go. Kuniev tested positive for anabolic steroids, drostanolone, metanoline, boldenon, well, I don't know what half these are, and 19-norandrosterone. It sounds like he was on all the drugs. He was on all of the drugs. And the UFC have gone, yeah, come in and fight Curtis Blades. That shows you they don't give 2 craps about Curtis Blades.
Yeah, that is rough. That is rough.
That is rough, isn't it?
So,
poor Curtis Blades.
There were some other fights on the card. Do we want to talk about Derrida versus Kevin Holland? I mean,
Derrida just smushed him, didn't he?
He just went straight through him, didn't he? That was a very easy fight.
Yeah, a quick turnaround would be a great thing for Reinier Derrida. Asking for top 5, I don't think he's there yet. I don't know if that's harsh with him being a 2-weight, 1 championship champion.
Call it out.
Prior in his career.
Call it out. Nothing to lose.
Call for it. I don't think that's what he should be getting. I think top 10, sure, but not top 5 because you've just beat a welterweight, really.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Peyton Talbot. What happened there?
Whoa, there's the hype train being derailed.
Oh, mate. I mean, I have to say, I was impressed with his ability to stay calm and in bad positions defend well. But that is a huge hole in the game that needs sorting out. And I said this in the preview show. I was mentioning his fight with Nick Aguirre is the only time he had any problems, and Nick was wrestling him. Barcelos has clearly watched that fight and gone, oh, well, that's where his weak spot is. Let's exploit it. And he exploited
boy, he
it.
really did, didn't he?
Boy, did he. Yeah, great. Shout out to Arnie Barcelos. He's like 37 years old, still doing bits. This was a step up too quickly for Peyton Talbot. He needs a step back, and he needs to go away and work on that grappling massively.
And it's, it's the UFC have these habits of finding these fighters. Who was a prime example? Who was a dude that looked like Mr. Universe, looked like the ultimate American high school jock? What was his name? Guys, he fought in every organisation since leaving the UFC, and they literally were hyping him so much. Karate style. What was his name? God.
Sage Northcutt?
Sage Northcutt, of course, yeah. So Super Sage was one of them where they just hyped and brought him in. And then all of a sudden, when he was fighting the more experienced fighters, they get found out.
Yeah.
And I think
young fighters need time to develop.
Exactly. And it's the same with Raul, what's his second name? Raul
Rosas Jr.
Yeah, exactly. Like, took a loss, and he seems to have gone back and looked at what he's doing and come back. And I think sometimes, I think we saw it with Darren Till. I think they just were like, right, we've got this Brit that talks a good game. Let's rocket him right up, and he got found out. And I think, maybe that's a slightly different example, but I think Peyton Talbot is another one of these crop of fighters that the UFC seem to just really get excited about. And I think sometimes they just got, I guess it was a well-matched fight. I think they did have to give him someone with experience that was more well-rounded and test him and see what he could, come up with. And the flaws in his ground game got exposed quite quickly. And it was such a dominant performance. I think Peyton Talbot couldn't get that space to get his striking off. I think he was just getting taken down so easily. And I think, yeah, as you said, he needs to go back to the gym and really work on that grappling.
100%. Yeah. So, I've not got much else to say. Grant Dawson got a good, a dominant but maybe dull win against Ferreira. And that is kind of all I really watched. I did watch a couple of the other fights on the prelims, but there's not a huge amount that I need to talk about, I don't think.
Absolutely. Well, look, we will be back next time. In the meantime, if you want to kill a bit of time, jump on the internet, head over to Fat Candy and order your sweets using that discount code SWEETMMA. Why not go check out the back catalogue of this podcast? If this is the first time that you've stumbled across the show, then go and explore the back catalogue, because not all of our shows are pre and post shows talking about stuff that's very time sensitive. We've got a huge archive of interviews with all of your favourite fighters. Have we had anyone that's been on this card on? Jamal Hill.
Jamal Hill, yeah, we had Jamal Hill on a while ago.
Go and check out our chat with Jamal Hill. And we've had your Volkanovskis.
Also, we had Q&A episodes and the Champions Predictions episode go out early January and around Christmas time. So if you need to fill your time with some MMA goodness, then please go over to the MMA Fan Show, either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you can just scroll back a little bit. We've got the Q&A episodes, Champions Predictions episode, and you can join us in our Champions Predictions. Let us know who you think will be champions by the end of 2025. We've already got one wrong, because we both said Umar Nurmagomedov. So we've already got one wrong, mate. So it's not a great start to the year for our predictions, but go and check those out and let us know what you think. I'm not giving you any points if you say Merab now, though, because that has been and done.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.